think we all know what it's like to be broke. And if you don't, then bye. Like, no, seriously, this is not for you. Today, I'm talking about something that makes me really uncomfortable, which is the differences in my life between when I was really, really poor and being rich. I don't know that I consider myself rich, but I think the world would. I mean, I have a second home at this point. Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna get into it. Here's a look at how my life changed when I went from struggling to financially secure, and a couple pointers along the way in case you are in the former camp and would like to be in the latter. It's really nice here. I invite you to join. Welcome or welcome back. My name is Christina Scalera, and hey, do you want to make a special appearance? This is Voodoo. He's our production assistant. Very important work. On this channel, I talk all about different ways that you can earn more income, hopefully passively, and also how to manage that well so that you don't end up back in the broke camp, because it's not really fun to be there. If you missed it or you haven't been following along for a while, I built a multiple six-figure per year online digital product shop, and I recently sold that shop. Not only can you sell your digital products, you can also sell monkeys. You can sell monkeys that make noise while you're filming videos. That's what you can sell. No, not monkeys. You can sell digital products and you can actually sell the shop itself. I've done some really cool videos lately, if I do say so myself, all about the different ways that you can earn income that aren't just pure business income. And I've also done a lot of videos on how you can keep more of that income for yourself and put it to work in more passive ways than running another business. Okay, but that's not what you're here for. You're here for the tea. What was it like in my life when I was poor AF, and what's it like now that I am so uncomfortable with this, but I guess you could call me rich now. I don't know, that just feels really awkward. Maybe I'll get used to it one day. In my mind, rich people are like the people that buy like those red laser masks and like other various scams. If you love it, good for you. I think they're a scam. Voodoo agrees. You know, they fly on private and they just, I don't know, like they buy like $250 dinners and things like that. Like that's like a big deal for me still, to buy fancy dinners and nights out and stuff like that. Maybe that's something I can work towards, but for me, I still like to fly coach. I like to get the cheapest plane ride that's still comfortable. You know, I have upgraded to like exit rows and things like that. But I have let go of a significant amount of things in my life that I didn't even realize were present when I was not making a lot of money. So the first thing that comes to mind is stress. Being poor stresses you out. Clearly my dog is poor AF because he won't shut the right now. Very stressed out. But when I was really broke, stress was a constant companion. And maybe you've heard my story of how I first started saving for retirement at 31 years old because I was up at 3 a.m. Do you ever wonder why I was up in that story, that timeline? It's because I was stressed out. I would wake up every night between 2 and 4 in the morning and could not go back to sleep. And I would always come to so awake thinking, you have this bill to pay, or rent's due in 3 days, or whatever. And it really would weigh on me heavily. I still have anxiety, so that's never gonna go away, but I will say that the external stress that I used to feel has been greatly lifted from just knowing, like I can just fall asleep so much better at night, knowing that I have reserves of cash, that I have savings, that I've put away money for my future, and that I'm building the kind of life and the kind of wealth that I never thought was possible for myself, but now that I see it, I want to have it. The second big difference between being poor and being rich is the amount of time that you actually have back in your schedule. So I think I'm a lot more effective as a business owner now because I have a lot more time. And despite, for the first time in many years, working one-on-one with private clients and giving them unlimited access to me over Voxer, which By the way, if I have any spots open, you'll want to just DM me on Instagram, which you should be following me there anyway. I post a lot of funny stories. So if you are interested in that, make sure you head over to Instagram, follow me, DM me, just let me know what you're looking for in terms of your future and your business, and we'll see if we can fit together. I now have time for all of my private clients because I'm able to offload tasks because I can pay for them. And that goes for domestic things as well as tasks inside my business, because I'm no longer the one who is responsible for making everything happen. But in a little bit of a more subtle way, I've also gotten back a lot of time when I travel. So I used to travel a lot more, particularly when I was pretty broke and paying close attention to every single penny in and out the door because I didn't have many pennies. That meant that when I traveled, I would always be excited for a city with public transportation because that would cut down on the costs of Ubering or taxis and things like that that might have made that trip unaffordable and now made it attainable. So I save a lot of time by taking Ubers and by getting direct flights instead of connecting ones, and also choosing flights that are at times that are convenient for me, because now that I have the money to be a little more selective and get better seats where I accomplish some work while I'm flying through the air, all of those things add up and they make such an important difference in my life and my ability to run my business versus when I really didn't have the means to invest or upgrade to those things. And I understand that there are different levels of poor, and the kind of poor I'm talking about is incredibly privileged. I was still flying on planes. I was still traveling. I was still trying to go to as many business networking, conference-y type things that I could. But what I will say is that time in my life was such a gift because it's made me so much more empathetic to the problems and the issues that someone in that situation is having, particularly how much time is not theirs that they spend on public transportation. And that, my friends, is really a big problem. I do wish that public transportation were a lot easier to access and more convenient in more cities. Now, even though I was really broke during that time in my life and my business, it still was a really fun time. I mean, there's no law that says you have to not have any fun because you have barely any or no money. And I do find that to this day, when I can take public transportation, if it's just a little annoying, an extra 10 minutes or something, I try to do it. It's good for the environment. And I also just kind of relive that sensation and remind myself where I came from and what was happening to get me to where I am today. Okay, so the third thing that I noticed between when I was really, really broke and now is that I would have to spend so much money on extra things that I don't have to spend money on now. So for example, if I want a really good bed now, I just go to a nice furniture store where I pick the expensive bed out. And, this is expensive for me. Again, I'm still coming to terms with a lot of what I was dealing with back then. So, we're talking about a $1,500 bed. Don't at me in my comments too hard. But now they come and they set up a delivery time and they set the whole bed up. And I remember breaking up with my boyfriend of 7 years and just really being at rock bottom. And I had to put together every single piece of furniture in that apartment, except for my bed. My bed I'd had since college, but I still had to figure out how to put that together because I had lost the slats that hold your bed up somewhere along the way. So I was just sleeping on a mattress in between the bed for a long time. So I had to figure out how to put all that together. And in hindsight, it took so much time. I was working full time just trying to make my business happen. I spent so much time after work, literally every waking hour until midnight for weeks, trying to build a little nightstand and build a little shelf and everything. And honestly, again, it's kind of that public transportation thing. I have such fond memories of that time. And I think it's because when you're building something like that with your hands, it feels like you're accomplishing a lot. If you physically, tangibly are accomplishing something versus just building a funnel online. And it also forced me to get off of my phone. I had to physically look at this thing to build it. I couldn't just, be like on my phone and watching TV and like have my computer. Like I had to do one thing at a time. And I think that's really soothing for the ADHD brain. So all this cheaper furniture cost me a lot of time, yes, but it actually ended up costing me more in the long run because it wasn't really what I wanted, didn't really quite fit what I was looking for. So of course, later on, I would have to buy something else to replace it when it broke or when I moved again and like that furniture really didn't work to begin with and now it really didn't work. I found the same thing with clothes. Now, makeup, I would go into debt for. So I didn't find that because I definitely spent too much on makeup, although it is nice to have more shades and more to play around with now, which I didn't have then. But clothes for sure, I definitely wear better clothes now that last a lot longer, that I can travel with easily, that dry really quickly if I wash a pair of yoga pants in a hotel sink. They're really high quality and just dry out so I can wear them the next day. Also, maybe I shouldn't be washing my yoga pants in a hotel sink. Maybe that's a habit I can grow out of. But I like my clean clothes. Something else that's interesting about clothes that's changed is like I just wear a lot of swag now. So this is from my designer, Nicole Yang. And this is her like little logo. And this was a shirt she sent me. I love it. It's so soft and comfortable. And actually, I think most of the clothes that I have here in this house, I didn't even pay for it. They were gifted to me through like a conference or a client gift or something like that. Like, it's great. It's not like something that I like am self-conscious about anymore. So I think as you just gain more money, you have less to prove to people and you don't feel as obligated to like show up with like the nicest, most like polished outfit. I could do a speaking gig in pajamas. If anybody wants to like put me on stage in PJs, I will prove to you that I would do this. Because I just, I'm so sure of like who I am now and what I've done in my career and what I'm going to be doing that like the clothes that I wear, it doesn't matter. So I think that's just like another thing that leads into the fourth one that I wanted to talk about, which is like differences and opportunities. Because I feel a lot more confident now, and it's hard to tell if that's because I am more financially secure. And if you follow like yoga at all, that really goes down to like your root chakra. It goes down to like feeling grounded and just stable so that you have other things that you can build upon that foundation. So I'm not sure if the confidence is coming from that or I'm getting older, probably a good mix of both, but for sure my opportunities are much better now. Now I will say that when I was super broke, I was good at networking and now I'm kind of not. Like I'm pretty lazy and I just kind of let whatever opportunity is going to be coming in come my way. And I think a lot of it is because I've also built a platform, on YouTube, on Instagram, on TikTok, where I can talk to you and I don't necessarily have to rely on other people anymore for that. So from being poor to being rich, I think the biggest difference in opportunities really comes from the squeeze that you constantly feel when you don't have enough money. When you get the overdraft notices, when you are trying to figure out how to switch money from this account to that account to another account that you have to pay for something next. It's like a mental gymnastics that you have to do that feels really overwhelming. And it is, when you add that on top of everything you have to do if you're trying to run your own business, it becomes overwhelming. There were days where I would spend hours at a time and try to like move all this money around so that everybody got paid, every bill was like properly taken care of, so that like, whatever, like my emails kept sending, like this kept going, whatever. And yeah, that was just really, really difficult, like really stressful. And I don't even want to say unnecessarily so, because I think learning how to manage cash flow better through dire circumstances has definitely given me appreciation for automation and learning how to set those kinds of things up in my life. And I just did a video about automation, so you'll want to check that out. Along with these opportunities, I also found that when I've been broke and I had a bad credit score, right? Because I was putting things on credit cards and then not paying them off. I had so much less opportunity when it came to getting approved for things. So, at the time I didn't own any property, I was renting. And I had to go like find apartments and condos and things like that were individually owned, which is also why I think I have such a heart for it right now with like what I'm doing with my real estate business, because I understand what it's like to go to an apartment complex, literally an apartment complex, and love it and fill out an application, which of course is like $80 gazillion when you're poor. Not really, but it is like $75. Like that's a lot. And then either get denied or be told that you have to give them basically like 3 months amount of rent for like a deposit because your credit score sucks. So, I mean, I won't even get into like the scam that credit cards and the credit system is, because it is. You just have to play it. It's a scam. We all know it's a scam. But it really hurts people that are in poverty, or, you know, in my case, I don't know if I'm too proud to say that I was in poverty, or that I just like, I feel like that's reserved for more dire circumstances that I'm very empathetic of. But either way, if you have bad credit and you are trying to just survive in this world, it's very difficult, and you are acutely aware of that at every turn. And the hard thing is, people really judge you for it too. I mean, they shouldn't. Like, literally, your credit score is a score based on how well you pay back debt, which really says nothing about who you are as a person. It just means, you know how to use a little tiny sheet of plastic or not. So anyway, the scam that is credit cards is always going to be more harsh and more difficult for people with less means to navigate. And it just like further piles on the crap in their life, which is really unfair. I don't know what the solution is to that, but I just noticed it very acutely that everything was more expensive because my interest rates were higher, my deposits were more, everything was more expensive when I had bad credit because I was poor. And then fifth and finally, this is something that really motivated me to stay on top of my business on the days when it felt really hard, which is to give to others. And I don't like the term giving back, because I feel like if you have to give back, you've probably taken too much to start with. Just a thought. But if you do want to give out of the generosity of the things that you've created in your life or the situations that you've been privileged to enjoy, then I think that's a great way to approach life. And it can really help you to have more gratitude for the things that you have when you can share it with other people, right? Like if you watch a really cool show on Netflix, what's the first thing you do? Like you haven't even finished the first episode yet and you're already DMing it or texting it to all your friends because you're like, I want to share this with you. It's so good. So when you have more means, when you are a rich person, you can share those experiences with others. You know, part of my intent in buying this property in Colorado that has 2 houses on it is I can bring my friends and my family and they can stay here and they can enjoy all this beautiful scenery that, you know, is out here where I live. I can also support friends when they're in need. So I recently, unfortunately, have a friend whose child passed away, and she wasn't asking for anything, but she did have a memorial fund set up to create a garden. And so I was able to contribute to that on the fly, where before I never would have been able to do something like that. And it just felt really good to help someone who, you know, wasn't expecting anything, but was obviously going through a very difficult time. And on top of that, the best part about all this in terms of giving, so if you can't tell, I'm not really a religious person. So I don't like tithe to a church or anything like that. But what I will say is that I really enjoy gifting things to people. So I love buying my clients gifts. I love buying the people that I work with gifts. And I love being able to give some of the people that have been working with me for a long time a good bonus. Like when I sold the company and some people had been with me for a while, I gave them a portion of what the company sold for, because that was important to me to see that they got what, you know, what I felt like was a fair shake, even though I'd been paying them along the way and all that stuff. It just felt really good to give them something a little extra for all of the dedication and hard work that they had been through over the years, just like I had. Overall, if you're in a position where it feels really hard, like it feels like you're struggling and you're getting hit with those overdraft fees and you're trying to do like the account gymnastics, moving money from one account to the other, please know I have been there and there's no shame in where you're at. In fact, it's honestly going to help you even more when you start to achieve some level of financial stability, because you will be so appreciative of where you're at that you won't let yourself slip and fall backwards like someone who just was like, you know, they fell into their business, or, you know, someone handed them a business or something. Like they're not going to have the same appreciation. So it's actually, I think in the long term, kind of a gift, even though it can feel kind of insensitive and like a slap in the face when I say that right now, depending on where you're at. And I also know that your resources right now are really tight, so you don't want to be spending time or money on the wrong thing, which is why the video that just popped up on your screen is going to help to get your business launched or rebooted if you're going through a little bit of a dry spell, a little cash crunch. So you'll want to watch that next after this one. And if you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed, give it a little thumbs up. You really make a huge difference for this channel. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.